Tell me, have you ever wondered what it's like to have an imaginary friend? One that actually talks back? Not just in your head, but under your floorboards. They say children can sense things that adults can't. But what if that friendly voice from beneath the floor wasn't imaginary at all? This next story comes from Reddit, a chilling tale of a young girl who made a friend living beneath her home. His name was Adam, and one day he just stopped talking. But what is more terrifying, that he was a ghost or something much worse than that? And it doesn't stop there. From the humming ghosts of old battlefields to loved ones who refuse to leave, these stories might make you question what's really lurking just beyond the light. So grab your blanket, turn off your lights, and let's dive into some of the creepiest real-life stories on Reddit. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dead Talk. If you're new here, my name is Judy. Thank you so much for coming. I definitely appreciate it. On this channel, we talk about everything horror, supernatural, paranormal, anything like that is my jam. I love talking about it. I love watching it. I love experiencing it. So if that's something you're interested, I hope you would choose to subscribe to this channel to see more videos like that. So in today's video, as you see, we're going to be going over some crazy true story Reddit posts that I came across that were super creepy. Now I've read a lot, but I chose 3 for this video, the 3 that creep me out the most. And so let's go ahead and jump on in. Let me just pull up my Reddit. So this Reddit user responded to the original Reddit poster, who was Oh Hey It's Daniel. So Oh Hey It's Daniel shared a story about an old picture that his mom showed him of him and his late uncle that he doesn't really remember. And he goes and tells this whole story. And then someone responds to him telling them their creepy story. And so I really wanted to share this one. So let's jump in. It says, I grew up in a mobile home when I was very little, maybe 8. I made a friend that lived in the floor. His name was Adam, and he was my best friend all that year. He wasn't there every day, and he was only there certain times of the day, usually right as I would get home from school. Adam always asked me how I was and what I did that day. Sometimes he would ask me to go to different places in the house so he could hear me better. That's creepy. It was usually in the bathroom. I would sit in the tub and talk to him. My brother could hear him too, but he lived with my grandparents and wasn't over often. Dad, I don't think heard him, but Adam never talked when he was around. He wanted me to go outside a lot, and sometimes I did, but I never met Adam or saw him. Then one day, Adam just stopped talking, and I never heard from him again. I'm not sure if this is a ghost or spirit of some kind. I almost hope it was. That'd be easier to swallow than a very likely story that there was someone under my goddamn house. Oh my gosh, you guys, that is so creepy because the chances are it probably was. Especially if they stopped talking to them. That is terrifying. He's 8 years old. And then someone replies to him and says, or she, I don't know if it's a she or a he, from my personal experiences and from what I've read, people usually lose the ability to communicate with spirits after the age of 8 or so. I had an invisible friend named Elizabeth with which I had a full-blown conversations. According to my mom, it kind of freaked my parents out. By the time I was in first grade, I had stopped talking to her and forgot about it until my mom brought it up a few years ago. So very interesting. I never had an imaginary friend. I do remember though when I was a little girl, I had a best friend that lived in my neighborhood, and I remember going to the mall with her and her mom. And we had seen a teddy bear at the mall. And when we got back to the car, the teddy bear was in the car. And I remember the mom and my friend kept telling me that they would go to the mall to see this doll, and it would always end up back in their car. And I believed them. So obviously I know that she had probably bought one, you know what I mean, and had it in the car, and I just didn't see it. So I'll never forget that story, but that was as close to an imaginary friend that I ever came. So, okay, this next story comes from Reddit user IDW this. I don't know what that's supposed to stand for. And this person says, I have lots of stories. For now, I'll share one from when I was 10 and on a field trip. So I grew up in North Virginia, and we had plenty of battlefields and such to visit for school field trips. In 5th grade, my class went to the Belle Grove Plantation, which was at Cedar Creek Battlefield. Cool house, still has damage to her columns from gunfire and from battle. Anywho, my class was in the kitchen of the plantation, listening to the tour lady talk about whatever it is you tell a bunch of 10-year-olds about plantation life. There are these big double doors on each side of the room, and they are open. And then we hear some humming coming from outside. The teacher's aide, who I call Bulldog, because she looked like one, told us that whoever was humming to knock it off. But that's the thing, it wasn't any of us, and it was coming from outside. Bulldog goes out one side of the kitchen, comes back in, and goes out the side that leads to the garden. She comes back in, says to the tour lady, no one at all is out there. But she could hear the humming right there in the garden. Doesn't sound like much, right? Well, fast forward a few years, and I'm reading a Ghosts of Virginia book. That's a story about Belle Grove in it. Apparently, the lady of the house was found in the smokehouse one day, badly beaten, half in the embers, with clear fist imprints on her face. She dies just a few days later. A slave girl accused of beating and murder was hanged for it. And the lady of the house liked to walk in the garden and was always humming. And various people over the years were witness, I guess you could say, to the ethereal humming that would take place in the garden. That just thoroughly freaked me out when I realized I got to witness it too. So the same Reddit user, he is in our final story, and this is one of the people that responded to him, which is Uncivilized Planet, said, you mentioned you had more stories? He was obviously impressed by that one. And this next one is very long, but I actually liked it better than the first one, so I thought we would get into this one. So it says, when I was 14, my dad died. No need to be sad about it. He was an ass. When he was alive, he loved to sneak up on people and scare the shit out of them. One of the ways he'd do that was to just silently creep up and chill out in the corner of your vision till you realized there was an asshole staring at you. Okay, so asshole must be his favorite word. I can't even believe I'm saying bad words on here because I don't say bad words, but I'm repeating what somebody else said. After he passed away, I'd be sitting in the living room watching TV, and I would see him just glide up into the corner of my vision across the room and stand and stare at me from the front entryway. I'd look over, and poof, nothing was there. Now, this can be easily written off as me being tired, mind's playing tricks on me, but that isn't all of it. So my dad loved to watch history and nature shows, and this was back when the History, Discovery, and A&E channels actually played decent docs and biographies and the like. He was an insomniac, so he'd always be up late with one of these stupid channels on. I just added stupid. And the walls were incredibly thin, and I'd always have to beg him to turn the damn sound down so I could sleep when I was a kid. So after he died for a few months, at least once a week, I'd be in bed, and all of a sudden I'd hear the TV in the living room. And it would be a documentary on ants or a biography of Churchill and other things. It spooked me, definitely. My brother wasn't doing it because, for one, he's deaf, and if he were to watch TV, he'd mute it. And he also had his own TV. My mom worked nights, and it always happened to be when she wasn't home. And at this point, my sister had been living on her own for quite some time. I'd get up to see what happened. Maybe the cat had turned the TV on. Yeah, but no. Max the tuxedo was usually in bed with me or outside. And I'd be able to hear the TV drone on about worker ants as I made my way down the hallway, through the kitchen and dining room to the front entryway. And once I'd get to the spot where I could see the living room and the TV, all the noise would be gone. It would be dead silent. So quiet you could possibly hear a spider fart. I got a kick out of that. But wait, there's more. After he passed, the locked, chained, and dead-bolted front door would open all on its own to let the cat in. This one happened in front of everyone at differing points over the winter after dear old dad had kicked the bucket. But the thing that really got me is this event that I'm about to tell you about. I was down in the basement one night watching TV. My mom was home and in the living room. Whenever she needed me, she'd stomp on the floor to get my attention. And that night, she stomped something furious. I raced upstairs, and she's sitting in a chair with a wooden TV tray table in front of her. This must have been the 80s. On the table was a styrofoam cup, and it was shaking violently. There were no open windows. There were no fans. I picked up that effing cup and checked for wires and strings. Absolutely effing nothing was attached to it, making the darn thing move. I put it back on the table, and it would shake again. Mom, of course, is saying it has to be Dad doing it and nothing else. The creepy visions, the cat coming in through a bolted and chained front door, and the documentaries about ants being heard at all hours of the night freaked me out as much as that darn cup freaked me out. I knew my mom wasn't doing it. I checked and double checked. The table was perfectly flat on the floor, didn't wobble. There wasn't a way to make that cup move, and not the table itself. It just thoroughly spooked me, and my mom kept saying it had to be Dad. He was a trickster, yada, yada, yada. So I just shout out, if that's you, Dad, knock it the F off, and it would stop. I didn't even finish saying it when the cup stopped shaking. After the cup incident, the cat had to wait for a real human to open the door for him. I heard no more documentaries in the middle of the night, and I didn't ever see Dad creep up in the corner of my vision to stare at me. Wow. I thoroughly enjoyed this story because my dad died when I was young. And if I was seeing and hearing these kinds of things, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds totally like my dad. I felt like this was my brother from another mother. Okay. But there's actually a couple responses I want to read, which is interesting. So this guy says, Aria, or it might be a girl, Aria D. Nev. First off, great stories. Secondly, I was getting all scared and creeped out the second story. Then I laughed aloud with the so quiet you could possibly hear a spider fart, LOL. And then he replies back and says, I have a few more if you would like to hear them. All right, guys, that's it for this video. So I want to know which one creeped you out the most. What did you guys think? Was it the story about the boy under the floors? Was it that lady from, I don't know, the 18th century that used to hum in her garden? Or was it the story about the dad who passed away and could not let go and had to constantly make himself known? I'd love to hear down below in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, I hope that you will subscribe and click the notification bell. That way you don't miss any more videos. I am going to continue over the next week until Halloween, upload a video every day, and I'd love to see you guys here again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.